And welcome back to Social Life in Peel. Our next guest is an expert at helping businesses develop leaders, Michelle Tadjouine of Meda Coaching and Consulting. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Leadership in business. We hear about it a lot. Maybe we don't really connect the two, business and leadership, but it's like a team. You got to have someone who's running the ship. How important is leadership in business?
It's key. Businesses are their people, and how you motivate and retain and empower people to reach their full potential is key to any business being successful.
And you also do coaching one-on-one and with
Yes,
groups.
I do.
So with one-on-one, what are the most common problems people come to you with?
I would say communication in the workplace, meaning respectful communication or conflict resolution. Also giving that constructive feedback is a key one in the business place.
Do you find that people are hesitant to see you because they don't want to seem like a complainer?
A bit nervous, I think, because they don't know what to expect, and sometimes just a bit scared as to what they're going to find out about themselves as well.
I guess sometimes that might
natural.
be the stereotype of human resources.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of forms and you're going to fill stuff out. But that's not it, I'm assuming. There's more to
No.
it than that.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot more to it. I think traditionally, human resources was associated with terminating people or recruiting people, one of the two. And now it's really about helping organizations manage through change, acquisitions, downsizing, restructuring, designing policies that are going to help leadership and people, and really advocating for both management and employees. We're in a very different world with the global economy right now.
So in a sense, are you the middle person between the
Yeah.
employees
Yeah.
and the management?
Many times, yeah, because we can understand, from an employee perspective what they're looking for, and from a business perspective what the leaders are trying to do. And if you're dealing with a publicly traded company, then the shareholders, what their accountability is to them as well.
Do you find having that middle person is a blessing? Because I would imagine if it's employees and bosses, sometimes it can get a little heated.
It can, yeah. It's a mixed blessing, because at times you're not able to do what you would like to do for the employee, and there's a bigger picture, and so sometimes that's difficult. A termination would be a perfect example of that. You might know the person, probably a great employee, but the business is what it is with restructuring, and you got to let them go, right? So mixed blessings.
But I'm sure there's no easy way to, no matter what protocol's in place, that's still got to be a tough part of the job.
It is. It's not something that you sleep before the night. You agonize about it.
So
It's
how,
still-
do you work for a specific business, or they hire you to come in
Yeah.
for a certain amount of time?
They
and
do
then-
hire me to come in. I was in corporate HR for 20 years, and so I've gone out independent now. And so, yeah, a company would hire me, let's say if they had a project they wanted completing, or they needed to develop some of their leaders or employees. Really, the scope is quite wide in HR and in coaching.
Okay.
How do you develop a good business leader?
Yeah. Really finding out what makes them tick, what is their mandate from the business, and then what's the culture they're operating in, and who are the people they need to motivate and retain and lead. And really bridging that gap would be key.
Have you yourself faced any hardships when speaking to a certain employee, with like a problem you didn't really know what to say to? And you're like, oh.
Yes, sometimes it's extreme anger. Some people, they may have never been told that there was an issue, maybe with the way they communicate, and that could be a real big shock to them. And they can get very angry. Some get very emotional and cry. Some walk out of the room.
Wow.
And so, the first
like
time that
therapy.
happened, you're kind of, oh, what do I do here, right? But remembering you got to put yourself in that employee's shoes, and how would you feel? Remembering it's not about you, it's about them, and helping them through that.
So empathy, a big key in your role as a human
Definitely.
resources officer. Now, how much of your job would be human resource consulting compared to your training, leadership training?
It normally starts off as HR consulting on a project, but often enough you'll find that it bleeds over the coaching, which is why I decided to pursue it after I got my designation. A lot of times it's just about helping people understand and motivating and managing them. So a lot of times it's 50-50.
And a lot of businesses are obviously very multicultural.
Yes.
Are a lot of people speaking their own language, and that's affecting a lot of...
Definitely, and cultural
English speaking?
sensitivity as well. Some leaders may not understand how other cultures interpret certain things and expectations. That's key especially with a lot of companies doing business in different parts of the world. So that's key as well.
When I think of human resources, you think of big departments, so by that extension you think of big companies. But do you also work with smaller independent businesses to get
do.
their human resources protocols in order?
Yeah, one of the key things is I've worked in very large corporate organizations. So being independent, now I get to go to smaller and more medium-sized organizations and implement best practices from the larger organizations to help them get to the next level.
Is that something that those smaller companies might not think they need? That, oh, we're just a mom and pop organization, we don't need to have those protocols in place. Do you get any resistance when you try to help those smaller companies?
Well, usually I'm sought out, so I'm
Okay,
not
so there won't be too much
little
resistance.
different, right? So
Gonna
they're
hire
coming
you
to
and be
me,
like,
right?
"No."
Right. Usually they want to get somewhere and they don't know how, or they don't have the right skills or people in place, and so I'm there for a purpose.
So with that said, then what kind of companies then would seek out your services mostly?
Any industry, really. It's really about, they may not have policies that are compliant with legislation. They may need to train and develop their people. They may need to just do some conflict resolution. You might have some teams not working really well together. They just may need to learn how to become a better communicator. So it really depends on what they're looking for.
Do a lot of people find that their managers are a bit condescending?
Yeah.
Is that like one of the main issues? So it's all
Yes.
just, and everything could be fixed with the right communication?
Yeah, it's about what's the intention behind their behavior. And a lot of
Yeah.
times we don't look at that. We react to the behavior and get really upset, and then that puts it into a situation where you're just not talking to each other.
Yeah.
But really it's helping the employee understand what is their intention, what are they trying to get across, and what's the bigger picture. Because they don't understand all the time like what their bosses are requiring of the managers, right?
Do people come see you when they know they're being terminated? And are there cases like that?
Can you clarify?
Like if they're being told, you know what, we're going to have to let you go,
Right.
and they're suffering from that, or they don't know what to do,
Yeah.
or wrongfully terminated?
Yep,
Is that-
I've dealt with all of those things. Sometimes someone can feel it in the environment when things have changed and they know that, you know, there might be a strong possibility they are, and they want to go, or I would say transition out of the organization on their terms. And so we do deal with that as well.
And you help them prepare a new resume. It's probably been years since they've had to write one
Yeah.
or apply again.
And the whole new LinkedIn thing and online applications, all of that's part of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. Human resources, it's all about sometimes you have to sell yourself to another employer.
Yeah.
Any tips for social media and how to sell yourself to prospective employers?
I definitely say look at the resume and use what's available to you. A lot of these tools are free, and people are just really afraid of it. And there are privacy things you can put into place if you're concerned about that, but it's the greatest way to network, really.
You did mention LinkedIn, a lot of people
Yeah.
on that now. Is that something that people who do hire are looking at very seriously?
Very seriously. A lot of recruiters have resulted in moving away from traditional job boards and going on LinkedIn. And it's just, you can see the connections, you can see the type of experience, higher caliber of candidates at a lot of time, and affordability for companies as well compared to traditional job boards.
It's easier to click a couple buttons than to hire someone, I suppose.
And in terms of privacy, would you recommend like not having your number on LinkedIn or address, all those things?
I think it really depends on your comfort level with that. Everyone has differences in terms of their personal lives, so I think you just need to be
Just
mindful.
the-
Yeah, up to you.
For someone who might be transitioning to a new job, what's the one piece of advice you give them to get in the door?
I would say really opening your network and thinking of yourself outside of the box. Like, what do you have to offer? Not just within the context of the job you were in, but now entering a new company. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle,
Thank
for
you.
coming in. We learned a lot.
Appreciate it.
And don't change the channel because we'll be right back with Social Life and Peel.